Today we're going to talk about another Arit. Now, commonly known as the throat chakra. However, because we are what, sis? We are Black. We're going to refer to this chakra as the Sekhem Arit. Let's get into it. The Sekhem Arit is associated with our thyroid and parathyroid glands. The thyroid gland produces hormones that are responsible specifically for metabolism, our heart function, our muscle function, and the development of our brain and the bones. The parathyroids is responsible for the calcium that's produced in the blood. So some of the health issues that you may experience with the Sekhem Arit consist of throat issues. So you may experience sore throat. You may experience a neck ache, thyroid problems. Like we mentioned, the thyroid is connected with the thyroid. So you may experience thyroid issues such as hypothyroidism, or also known as Graves' disease. You may experience hearing issues. You may experience tinnitus or asthma. This is just to name a few. According to Dr. Arabia Mollett, Black women have a higher risk for Graves' disease, which is an autoimmune disorder where the immune system is attacking the thyroid gland and it's overproducing thyroid hormones. Some of the environmental factors that may trigger Graves' disease consist of high iodine intake, stress, obesity, and or smoking. And you can also consider family history as well. That's on a physical level. So now let's talk about the spiritual aspect, the energetic aspect, when the Sekhem Arit is overactive and underactive. When the Sekhem Arit is overactive, meaning it's spinning quickly, this is an indicator that you may experience over talking people. You may experience being arrogant. You may have dogmatic views, and or you may exude self-righteousness. Like you don't make mistakes. Like you not human. Like you just I'm just playing. You also may struggle with listening to respond versus to understand. Ask me how I know. I've worked on it, but I digress. When the Sekhem Arit is underactive, this means that you may struggle with expressing yourself and communicating how you feel. You may come off as unreliable. You may have inconsistent views, or when you do speak, you may often feel ignored or as if you're invisible. When you speak, people may ignore you because you're not speaking with that power, that certainty, that confidence that you know what you know, and you're speaking because this is how you feel. So you may feel invisible when you speak. So this is when your Sekhem Arit is underactive. So Jamesia, how do we know when our Sekhem Arit is balanced? I'm glad you asked. When your Sekhem Arit is balanced, this is when your mind and your heart is aligned and you speak from a place of alignment. So you're not just out here haphazardly saying some wild stuff. I mean, you could say some wild stuff because, I'm guilty of that. Now, I would be remiss if I didn't say sometimes you got to cuss a motherfucker out. Contrary to popular belief, and everybody may not agree with me, but sometimes you got to let these people know that you are not the one or the motherfucking two, okay? Use that Sekhem Arit. I digress. You're speaking from your heart. You're speaking with clarity. You're speaking with certainty. And you're speaking with confidence. And you're clear in your communication. And it's easy for people to understand you. That's how you know you're aligned. Your Sekhem Arit is aligned. If you are a singer, you use your voice. If you are a speaker, you use your voice. You use it in such a beautiful way because this is how you self-express in a artistic way. And you also may find it easy to meditate. When you're in alignment, it's easy for you to quiet the mind and allow the downloads to come in and to receive. So that's just another thing to note. There are different ages where each Arit are developed. And so the Sekhem Arit is developed between the ages of 28 and 35. I do want to mention that. Shout out to the millennials out there. I don't know why I did the power to the people fist because millennials, everybody. But shout out to the millennials out there because we in our Sekhem Arit, We are in our Tahuti bag, and that's another topic for another day, but we are clearing that throat chakra and we are speaking our truth when we saying it with our motherfucking chest, okay? I'm just saying it's our time to shine. That's all I gotta say. Now, let me say this before I move into making the uncommon connections common. The reason why the Arit 2, aka the chakras, are important is because in the yoga world, one of the main ways to balance the Arit 2 is through yoga. And I am a Kemetic yoga teacher and a Kemetic energy healer. I am about that life. That's all I gotta say. So if you're trying to balance your Arit 2, hit me up for the yoga. Kemetic yoga, ancient Egyptian yoga, or preferably hit me up for the Kemetic energy healing sessions. I got you, sis. I got you, boo. Moving on. Now let's talk about the emotional aspect of the Sekhem Arit, because we're connecting the dots, you know? So many of us, many Black families have experienced the you are meant to be seen, not heard type of vibe. And I just think that is detrimental to the development of a person. You are meant to be seen, not heard. Stay in a child's place. Stay out of grown folk business. Now, I get it. We're not supposed to be in their business. But why were they talking around us anyway? That's all I gotta say. That is detrimental because it stunts our ability to express ourselves. So because we didn't have the freedom to express ourselves how we desired, if we never healed that emotional state of staying in a child's place, you're meant to be seen and not heard. And we are not taught how to healthily communicate. A lot of us aren't, at least. So now we are moving through life stuck at that age because you didn't have the right tools to grow past that age. And because we didn't grow past that age where trauma happens, and now we're specifically talking about the Sekhem Arit. So you could have been 6, you could have been 12, you could have been 15 when you experienced, shut up, you're talking too much, be quiet, stay in a child's place. You're meant to be seen and not heard. Wherever age that was embedded and imprinted in your mind, in your energetic field, in your aura, is where you stop growing. So now you operate with that type of energy throughout life in an adult body. So this looks like shutting down in arguments. This looks like stonewalling someone. This looks like storming out of the room in the middle of a conversation or a disagreement. This looks like not saying anything or contributing to a conversation where you're trying to come to an agreement or agreeing to disagree. This looks like screaming, berating one another, cursing somebody out. You know, however that shows up for you, that is trauma from whatever age you were told to be silent. So you are responding like insert a 5-year-old, a 12-year-old, a 15-year-old. You get what I'm saying? You see the dots connecting? So during childhood, you may felt like you were unheard. You may felt like you had to suppress yourself. You couldn't speak your truth. You may have felt like your opinions didn't matter. This may cause you to neglect taking responsibility to grow up and take charge of your life. Now, I want to talk about the Sekhem Arit from a different perspective in an emotional way. Sometimes this looks like the comedian. It looks like during childhood, you may have ended up being the class clown. making jokes, laughing, because there's actually a mask that you are portraying. Deep down, there's a pain. So usually the ones that are making all of the jokes and the laughs and making everybody laugh is sometimes the ones that experience the most pain buried underneath. And when someone is doing this, this means that they feel as though that they have to perform to be loved, to be accepted, because otherwise no one will love them or accept them for them without the mask of being the class clown or the constant comedian. A child may do this when they feel like no one will listen to them if they're serious or if they're expressing their emotions. So this is something that could have been adopted during childhood and brought into adulthood, being the center of attention in a comedic way. 9 times out of 10, the comedians are the ones that experience a lot of the pains, and that's how they're able to use their material. They birth their laughter out of their pain. So I just wanted to make that note. Okay, this last perspective. We live in a patriarchal world, okay? And that's just the honest truth. As a woman, as a Black woman, we have a long history of being silenced. We have a long history of not speaking our truth, biting our tongue. And when we do speak our truth, it falls on deaf ears. We are not taken seriously. Now, that was back in the dizzy. A lot of people are taking us serious now because, again, the women are standing on business. They are saying it with their chest. And they don't give up what nobody got to say. We were taught to bite our tongue. And this is like a personal opinion. I personally don't believe that you should bite your tongue for anything or anyone. I believe that communicating with curiosity, openness, and understanding should be the center of a conversation. That's just my 2 cents. Everyone may not agree with that, and I'm okay with that, but that's just my 2 cents. So I'm bringing it on home. When you open up your Sekhem Arit, after years of not using it effectively, you might be cursing everybody out. Hopefully you don't do that, but you got years of build up of energy stored in your Sekhem Arit, ready to come out. Spit fire, hot fire coming out of that mouth, okay? But just so you know, that's natural. And then once you start to come back into harmony and balance and everything starts to settle, you can then healthily communicate effectively and get your point across in a aligned way. But it is natural for the Sekhem Arit to be overactive if it was underactive for a long time. So the whole goal is to find balance in your communication, speaking from your heart and using logic in your heart to express yourself, to self-express, and also self-express in a creative way. So sis, I just want you to know, in closing, use your voice. Your voice matters, and your story matters. What you've experienced in your life is important, and the world needs to know. Whatever trauma you've experienced in your past, holding it in can cause health issues. So there are different techniques and ways to express that trauma and to let it out. Maybe you need to seek talk therapy. Maybe you need to seek a trusted friend and let them know what happened to you at an early age. Maybe you need to write it out. Maybe you need to express it out in a poem, in a rap, in some type of artistic way where you can use your voice. Maybe you need to express it in a song. Whatever you do, express your pain. Speak your pain. Release your pain, because you can. Give yourself permission to be free from the trauma that has kept you trapped all these years. And I'm saying this with love and compassion and kindness, because it may not have been easy for you to hold on to this for years. That is a painful way of existing. So I pray that this sets you free in some type of way. That's all that I have, sis. Have a good rest of your day. TTYL.